Peace, world majority brothers and sisters. The icebreaker coming. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute held its 33rd annual gala back in September as part of its Hispanic Heritage Month event entitled Celebrating History, Heritage, and the American Dream. The bougiest of bourgeois Latinos all came out, either to get dressed up and show themselves off, and or show off their corporate pimp sponsorships. Why? There's Eva Longoria from Desperate Housewives fame. Hello, Eva. And is that Sheila E. playing traps in a platinum dress? She want drums. It ain't much. And here we have the illustrious Reyes de Comedy. They must be laughing at what a joke this gala is. Every year the CHCI gets together to overcharge people for meager quantities of food and famished political discussion. As far as the program session schedule goes, this event seems like a haven for sellouts and the principal transgressors of the Latino community. Just look at some of the participants and check out their recent actions and or inaction, and you'll realize that their mere presence at this event should have been ranked como una cachetada en las caras de todos los y las participantes. How does Janet Napolitano get invited? Shoot, land a speaking engagement when she put the infamous 287G agreements in place and has recently confirmed that there is no escape from the national deployment of the Secure Communities program. Then there's the president, whose regime has deported more than Bush at his greatest moment, 392,000 to be exact, in 1 year only, as we pointed out last week. His speech included the following all-hands-on-deck platitudes.
That's why states like Arizona have taken matters into their own hands. And my administration has challenged that state's law, not just because it risks the harassments of citizens and legal immigrants, but it is the wrong way to deal with this issue. It interferes with federal immigration enforcement. It makes it more difficult for local law enforcement to do its job. It strains state and local budgets. And if other states follow suit, we'll have an unproductive and unworkable patchwork of laws across the country.
Translation: I'm competing with Russell Pearce. I'm competing with Jan Brewer. I just deported 392,000 of your people, and that's just 8,000 shy of our federal immigration enforcement goal. All this 1070 talk is unproductive and unworkable because it gets in the way of my own plans to fulfill the same goal of mass deportation. The old dirty Obama concluded by saying,
"You have every right to keep the heat on me and keep the heat on the Democrats. And I hope you do. That's how our political process works. But don't forget who is standing with you and who is standing against you."
This was at least one sliver of good advice, although perhaps inadvertent. If your version of heat is uncritical support and applause no matter what, as most brown and black folk have given to Obama, please change your mind before it's too late. Turning on political heat or pressure to reach a desired goal is really saying, we have a plan. So do what our plan tells you to do, because if you don't, I already made other plans. You're actually just plan D anyway. That's how powerful people do it. Heat isn't applauding the same dude who just deported your people and then speaks to you saying he's working hard to resolve the issue. Nor is it yelling, "I love you," or "God bless you," as many audience members did during the speech.
I love you back.
Come on, y'all. Where are your ganas at? Are we that eager to ego stroke the emperor? And another question. Was there nobody else to invite? The Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute couldn't ask any lesser known, more grassroots oriented, real community organizers to address Latino public policy makers? Perhaps some of the activists who have been in the streets organizing, marching, providing basic services, and educating would have done better. I can assure y'all that costs definitely could have been cut. But no, they probably would have strayed too far away from the Democratic Party line, since it is the Dems who only respond to the momentum that these organizers establish in the streets. Could it be that the fate of the all-liberal, left-leaning nonprofit groups is to be blind, spineless, and sycophantic cannon fodder in the army of the Democratic Party? Besides that whole issue comes my ever-present nagging suspicion of economic sponsorship by corporations who have 0 to -% to do with the struggles of our people, unless they create those struggles or are accomplices in making them more difficult for us to win. Amongst the most egregious examples of anti-people Anti-Latino corporations that put up the front money for this 4-day event include of locking undocumented folks into their stores after hours, we have Walmarts. Who could forget the worldwide polluters, economic looters, and hirers of paramilitary shooters, ExxonMobil and British Petroleum? Give them a big hand. And want to talk about slap in the face, we'd be remiss not to mention Anheuser-Busch, aka Budweiser, aka one of the main targets of our economic boycott against SB 1070 supporters. Remember, y'all, Cindy McCain is owner of Hensley and thusly controls some Budweiser distribution, while at the same time giving to her husband, John McCain's campaign, straight from the Hensley checking account. I could name more obviously blood-soaked wallets, but the rest of the sponsors reads like a who's who of crimes against humanity. I guess that if the price is right, anyone can be bought. Also, on Tuesday, State Senator Russell Pearce held a press conference to announce his plans to fundamentally alter the 14th Amendment so that birthright citizenship is revoked for some. According to the AZ Republic, Pearce is aiming for a January session in which his legislation would be introduced for consideration. Being that this type of bill would prompt the Supreme Court to contest this on the grounds of trying to trump federal law, it is exactly what Pearce wants, so that he and this coalition of the willing, you might say, can challenge the 14th Amendment on the national level. And in a direct appeal to the Negro people, Russell Pearce said, "We've allowed the hijacking of the 14th Amendment. We've allowed it to rob the legacy of African Americans, and we've allowed it to be misapplied." Being that Russell Pearce is a friend and supporter of neo-Nazi J.T. Reddy, black folks need not be fooled by this remark. Shoot, if it was up to Russell Pearce, he'd probably own him some black folks. Yeehaw! In a stunning twist of events, Tupac Enrique Acosta of the Tonatierra Embassy of Indigenous Peoples made it to the mic podium and showed Pearce a picture of 2 pilgrim children that read under them, "Anchor Babies." As you can see from Pearce's cool and collected facial expression in this photo, he obviously went unrattled by the whole experience. These folks are so intent on undemocratically pulverizing us with legislation thought up in the heads of an elite few that as soon as Brother Acosta directly calls out the contradiction of this fictional world of white nationalist historiography, you gotta get security to take him away. You gotta get thought police to remove his very idea from the discussion. Perhaps Barack Obama should have started on this episode of Mythbusters, instead of continuing to propagate them behind podiums. But if this episode shows us one thing, it's that all action that is truly in favor of our community, whether symbolic or otherwise, will come from our community. It must be initiated by our community on a grassroots level. Leaving it in the hands of enslaved arms of the major political parties or the masters they are beholden to will continue to rob us of the opportunity to realize and exercise the power of the people, where the heat really is. That's my time, world majority brothers and sisters. The struggle is won.